Yeah, thank you so much, JR. So this is basically going to be a preview of my talk at FinOps X called AI for FinOps from Hype to Helpful. Um, Usually I like my talks to be really kind of like in the weeds with actions that you can do. So we're going to kind of do that a bit, but it's going to be kind of high level here. And when we get actually to the talk at in San Diego, we'll actually get into the weeds. So the framing of this is, as you've all heard from all of the talks today, and I'm sure all of your listening to podcasts and everything else, AI basically is table stakes. It is what is going to be required to succeed at your job. And you can understand this, you can think it, you can believe it, but it's a different thing to kind of have that concept and then know what to do when you actually get into the office on Monday morning. You're like, okay, great. I'm in. I think AI is going to change everything, but like, how can I actually use this? And so we're going to dive into that a little bit here and then in more detail during the talk at FinOps X. Next slide. So one of the examples is a few people here talked about the importance of context. And I think a lot of people had a similar experience when they first started playing around with AI. You might have just used it casually, asked some questions, had some surprise, like, oh, this is actually really useful. And then you start using it in a business context and you like, give it your billing data and you're like, write me a SQL query to find these GKE namespaces, for example. And you realize, oh, that doesn't just work like magic in the same way when you ask it to write you a poem, right? It's a little bit different. And the thing that you learn, the lesson that you learn is you need to provide additional information in order to actually make the query and the LLM useful. And so the foundation is coming up with a fantastic group of resources for prompts. But at a high level, I think the way to think about it is, first of all, you got to provide context. So schema, label taxonomy, billing export structure. An example of this that's really hands-on, if anybody here is using GCP, if you go to the billing console, you can play around to find a view that you want, and then they have a generate query button. And if you generate that query, just copy and paste it from BigQuery into your LLM of choice and ask it to make explicit changes. You are, by the very nature of doing that, providing it that context that will allow it to succeed in the task. So making sure that it has the context is required to actually get usable answers. Also, having a constrained ask, being specific. So show the top 10 namespaces by cost this month, group by team label. You need to know what you're asking for in order to get a valid response. And lastly, most importantly, you have to be a skeptic with all of this. So what assumptions did you make? What might be wrong? You should double check this manually. You can go back and forth with the AI to explore this, but this is super important. And I'll explain why on the next slide this is kind of so important. Um, I want to sort of present a framework for what AI is, kind of taking a step back within the world of technology. So AI, at the end of the day, is just another layer of abstraction. It's kind of the ultimate layer of abstraction. And if you're not familiar with the concept of abstraction, basically computers are starting with bits and bytes, and you kind of have assembly language as kind of the lowest level of abstraction. And then you have a language like C on top of that. And then branching off, you might have Python. Each of those are different layers of abstraction. And historically, that is how technology progresses. You have these abstraction layers that make it kind of easier to do things, you have more power. There's trade offs, of course, but historically, when you have these abstraction layers, you have a human or a person who is building the abstraction layer and understands all of the logic that goes into it. And if you're really motivated and smart, you theoretically could go in and understand how C kind of behaves at the lower level. That's all visible. Now, the challenge with AI and LLMs is that all of that visibility into this layer of abstraction is gone. We don't have visibility into it. AI researchers don't even have visibility into it. The LLMs are sort of a big black box, and you can kind of look at the numbers that they're spitting out, but you don't actually know how they're arriving at the answer, which means this is sort of the first technology abstraction layer where there's trust involved, which is sort of strange and needs to be double checked. And so until there is some way to like build that trust for an LLM, and I don't know what that looks like, we are not there yet, it's super important to understand that what you are doing when you're asking a prompt is adding a layer of abstraction where you can't actually trust what is happening in that AI model as much as it is. Because I'm sure we've all had experiences with hallucinations, with wrong things, with a company's production database being completely deleted by Cursor. Things like that can and will happen. So it's super important for you to be checking the answer. All right, on to the next one. Just a little teaser, more about kind of what we're going to be digging into more in my talk. I think one of the ways that you can make AI most powerful, aside from like building agents and things like that, is building your own personal AI home base. And this is kind of what I'm going to be exploring and we're going to be building together. It can be as simple as creating a directory such as AI-home. One of the things that I use and I love, and you might as well, is something called Tmux, which allows you to create a session that persists and opening Claude code or whatever CLI agent you're using in that. And then within this directory, within this home base, you can provide it all of the context for what you want. So maybe you have a list of common queries that you use, and that provides the LLM information about how to structure queries. You can provide it with references. You can add MCP servers to be able to connect and have abilities. You can build your own skills and again, collaborate with the LLM to do this. And then you'll sort of have two ways of interacting with the agents, right? You can either launch Claude Code within a code base if you're doing work on that code base. But if you're not, you can open this directory, whether it's in something like Cowork or in the CLI, and you will have an agent who is personalized to you that can answer all of your questions and has the skills and everything. And it allows you to kind of provide that context built in to shortcut having to build it over and over again. And I think one of the last things you can add that's super powerful when you're building this manually is memory. So ultimately, you can get something like OpenClaw, but unlike OpenClaw, which is all the permissions and really not transparent, you're kind of going from the bottom up, adding what you want manually so that you have it, and you're slowly and surely building this AI home base that can allow you to do all of your professional work kind of all in one place. And so, yeah, that's about it for me. We're going to be doing a detailed look at a home base, going over some real prompts. We're going to get into the weeds with all of this in San Diego. So hope to see you there. And thank you guys so much for your time.
Hey everyone, producer Andrew here. Thank you so much for watching and for your support. For more FinOps content, go check out our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and leave comments and questions for all of our wonderful speakers. We appreciate your support.